Hello there, YouTubers and weavers. I haven't done a weaving video in a while, and this is sort of a weaving video, but I'm not going to be doing any actual weaving. What I want to do, well, let's back up and start this over again. A couple of days ago I saw a YouTube video by Kelly Casanova where she was talking about some of the books that she has related to rigid heddle weaving. And I got to thinking, gee, that's a good idea. Maybe I should do a video talking about some of the books that I've got about weaving. My wife and I are both idiots about buying books. I mean, we buy way too many. But that having been said, I've got a fairly decent library of weaving books. So I thought I would show you some of them and give kind of a little recommendation of what books I like in relation to weaving. So the first book I've got is this one, Inkle Weaving by Helen Bress. Okay, this was the first weaving book that I ever bought, because the first loom that I had was a homemade Inkle loom. And you've seen, if you've been following my channel at all, I do have an Inkle weaving video, and I'm pretty much following the things I learned in this. In fact, the design of that homemade loom came out of this book. I have since modified my technique a little bit, put in a few little things of my own, but this is a good starting book for Inkle weaving. So that's the first book I want to discuss. Once I moved up from Inkle weaving to a table loom, I made a 4-shaft table loom with plans that I bought from Seavers up in Door County, Wisconsin. Then I had to learn to weave. So the first book I got was Deborah Chandler's book called Learning to Weave. This is an excellent learning book. It is not an advanced weaving book, but for someone who is new, who wants to try their hand at weaving, doesn't want to spend the fortune it could take to go to a class somewhere. If you want to try learning on your own at home, Deb Chandler's book is, in my opinion, one of the best books you could possibly get for learning to weave. Once you get past that, you're going to want to try to get a little bit fancier. One of the standard books everybody gets when they have a 4-shaft loom is Marguerite Porter Davidson's A Hand Weaver's Pattern Book. Most people call this the Green Book, and the reason is because it is a green book. I just still have a real kind of torn up and used yellow cover on it. That again is one that I highly recommend. Marguerite Porter Davidson she's just got one of the best books around for 4-shaft patterns. You can try a million things in there and never run out of different things to do. If you go to 8-shaft weaving, then a book that's going to be similar to Davidson's is this one. Carol Strickler's book, Weaver's Book of 8-Shaft Patterns, from the Friends of Handwoven. Again, this is just a very good book. Just like Davidson's, it's full of patterns, but there's hundreds of them for you to try, and it's a very good selection. Then, after I'd been weaving for a while and I'd done everything on my own, I finally decided, gee, there's a few things I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around and that I wanted to try in weaving. And one of those was I wanted to learn about double weave. I finally had to go take a class. I took one up at Seavers from Judy Yamamoto, That was probably 12 or 13 years ago now. Anyways, I took double weave, and I also bought a couple of books about double weave. So again, The Best of Weavers, The Magic of Double Weave by Madeline Vanderhoot. Very good book. If you want to learn all about double weave, this is one of the really good books that you can get. Then I still wanted more, so for a more in-depth understanding of double weave and a little bit of history as well, I went with, I'm going to have a hard time pronouncing this one's name, Ursina Arne Grishot is the author. The book is called Double Weave on 4 to 8 Shafts. This one is not just patterns, but a lot of theory as well. So if you want to understand double weave, not just follow a pattern, but truly understand it, then this is the book for you. The next thing I've got isn't a single book. It is a series of small pamphlets that were published for a number of years called Weaver's Craft. This was put out by Jean, where's Jean's last name on here? Well, her name is Jean. Her picture's on the back, right there. Plain Tabby Press from Fort Collins, Colorado. After this had been out for a while, I bought the entire series. It was not cheap, but I think it was worth it. The book was usually 12 to 16 pages long. It came every couple of months, and she had some theory and some patterns in it. And I just found it an easy read and a lot of useful information, even though I haven't found something in every edition that I liked. Most of them had something that I really liked. So if you can pick up copies of this series called Weaver's Craft, and there's about 30 books in the series, and they're all small, it would be a useful thing to have. Now before I say the I think most of you who have watched my videos are aware that my big loom that I'm standing behind right now is a Louet Spring made in the Netherlands, and that I also have an Ashford 8-shaft table loom made in New Zealand, and I've got a couple of homemade looms. About 4 years ago, I took a class from Becky Ashenden out at Vavstuga in Massachusetts, learning the Swedish style of weaving. So I'm glad I took it. It's not the style of weaving that I do, but I learned a lot at the class, and it was a good class. I have picked up a couple books on Swedish weaving. One of them is Lula Lindahl's book, The Big Book of Weaving, Hand Weaving in the Swedish Tradition. This is a great book for learning the Swedish tradition of weaving on a Swedish style loom, a Toika, a Glamokra. I can't think of the other Swedish style looms, but Glamokra is the one that comes to mind the most. If you've got that kind of loom, this is a good book. Then I do have a book by Doris Wiklund, which was translated from Swedish to English by Becky Ashenden. The Old Swedish Weavings from North to South. It's a good book. It gives you history of selected pieces of weaving that have been found in Sweden, and it does give you drafts for doing them. However, be aware the drafts are done in the Swedish style, which is not the same style of drafts that you're going to find in either the 4 or the 8 shaft, or even in Deb Chandler's Learning to Weave. So you can work from these, but it is a slightly different mindset to work on Swedish weaving from either of these two fine Swedish books. Finally, if you want to get really advanced, understand weaving theory, and really dive into designing your own patterns and understanding weaving structures and how they work, then I'm going to recommend Sharon Alderman's book, Mastering Weave Structures, Transforming Ideas into Great Cloth. That's this book. Again, it's a good book, but it's a difficult read because it is much more of a theory, and you're trying to really understand the structures involved in the weaving, not just following patterns. If you want to do your own design work, you want to understand it, this is the book. One more specialized bit of weaving that you could be doing if you should choose to get interested in card weaving. You can do that with or without an Inca loom. You can do backstrap weaving with card weaving. If you want to use cards for your patterns, the first book that I'd recommend, it's an intro book, but it'll take you into some advanced stuff, is Candace Crockett's book called Card Weaving. It's a good intro book to card weaving, good starting book. It also has some advanced stuff in it, but it's a good book. Finally, if you want to really understand the theory behind card weaving, you want to think in terms of, gee, I'd like to get my master's or my doctor's degree in card weaving, Peter Collingwood, The Technique of Tablet Weaving. This is a slog to read, but you will understand the theory of tablet or card weaving. If you get done with that thing, you've practically got your master's in card weaving. So those are a sampling, a pretty good sampling of my library related to weaving. I've got some other books, they're a little bit more specialized, but in general, this is my weaving library, and I refer to this stuff. There's occasions when I'm thinking, gee, I wonder how I did that. It's been, 7, 8 years since I did something. I'll go back and read a chapter in Deb Chandler's Learning to Weave, just as a reminder to myself. Anyways, that's one quick video on my library of weaving books. If you like my channel, I'd appreciate you subscribing. If you're already a subscriber, thanks a million. Bye-bye.